this video is going to go over how I set up my interactive notebook for IB History of the Americas Year 1, and I also went ahead and set up a binder as well, since I know some of you might be choosing that. This is going to go over the logistics of how I set it up and just some explanations of how we are going to be using these sheets. So first and foremost, I actually did the table of contents last. I put that in last because that way I set it off to the side, had it as a reference point. The page numbers and the titles of each are going to be very important that you pay attention to them, because most of the worksheets I printed out for you, but some of them I did not. So you're going to need to be aware when you need to skip a page and label it for something. And I'll point that out when I get to it. Just so you know how this is broken down, I have the skills on the left and content on the right. And we are going to be interacting with this quite a bit. So the next thing is I logistically only glued the top inch of the paper. That way you can lift it up and have more writing space in case that you need it. So moving on, I have IB History Basics. I want to point out that on the left here, we want to consistently be tracking content vocabulary. You want to show that you are a historian and you know how to pull these words. I'll point these words out, and I'll emphasize them during class. And I would highlight them, and then you can go through, come back to this, and add it. This is papers 1 and 2, which you won't get to until year 2. We'll mention it a little bit here and there, but primarily you will take notes next year. Next up is paper 3. This is a prime example of when I did not provide you a worksheet. So on the left is information including the mark band, which is what IB calls rubrics, that I really want you to have about paper 3, and then throughout the year, as more tips come, we'll add them. So make sure that you include this. Next up is the HI, basic logistics, mark band, and then we will be recording different tips throughout the year, and I've broken it down into these 4 categories. Next up are our command terms, which command us in all things paper 3 of IB History. There are 6 command terms, and we will take one at a time. I'll go through with you guys how to outline and set up sentence frames for each to make sure that you are meeting the mark band that IB has set forth for you. More into how to write an effective paper for paper 3, T-Bear, evidence and research. Notes on cars worthy evidence. This is something that we will continuously come back to. I'll give little bits of advice based on what we're doing at the time or based on individual feedback and what I notice you guys need. We will come back and add these notes here. Same with analysis, since that is going to be important to take you to top marks. Introduction paragraph, I've provided how to write one and an exemplar. And then to close out for writing, we have conclusion, and then this is going to be important. I take time to give you individual feedback. I also take time to put together the holistic feedback for generally what I'm seeing amongst the classes. And it's going to be very beneficial. Instead of having to shuffle through all those feedbacks on different papers and exit tickets, I would go ahead, or not, I would, but you should go ahead and write the date. What part of the writing are you messing up on? Is it maybe the introduction? Is it T-Bear? Is it analysis? That will help you be more cognizant of improving your writing. And then trying to synthesize, like, what did Ms. McKean say that I need help on? Next up, another example of a worksheet not being provided, since we're going to just be taking notes. Historiography, which is essential if you want to score top marks in IB History. And next, a little bit more into your historical investigation. OPCVL, tips on that, tips also on section 3. I will provide many examples of how to effectively write this. So this will be something, again, that we continuously add notes to, come back to, and add throughout the year. Message conveyed is primarily a paper 1 skill, which is IB History Year 2, IB History Year 2. And so we will work on this a little bit just so we have this skill ready to go. All right, so that closes up the skills portion. Of your IB History interactive notebook or binder. And go ahead and start the next video for more explanation on the content portion.